to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is our annual meeting of the board. So we need to do all the new positions and all that garbage. So at this point, I'll turn my time over to Sharon.
Okay, at this time, I'm opening up nominations for chair. Are there any nominations?
Nominate Eric again.
Are there any other nominations?
We're gonna renominate Eric again.
Is there a motion to close nominations?
So, second.
Okay. Well, Mr. Randall, it's yours again.
Close call.
Yes, it was.
Okay, so open up nominations for vice chair.
Nominate Ralph.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Trustee Binion, Sharon?
Yeah.
We need nominations for clerk of the board.
Nominate Sharon.
Okay.
All in favor? Any opposed? Sharon? Deputy clerk of the board.
Nominate Levi. Second.
On favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Then we need a treasurer, nominations for a treasurer.
I'll make Levi the treasurer.
Okay.
Any opposed, or I guess all in favor? First time. Any opposed? No? All right, moving on. All right, we get a motion to approve the agenda presented in our packet.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda, unless somebody wants to be pulled out for discussion, so we got a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Addition none, public input. There was any on that. I didn't see any.
Mr. Chairman, we did skip. Where did you guys keep your oath?
Last year's not good for this year.
No,
Right.
not technically. So, can I get all of you to stand and raise your right hand? Repeat after me. I do swear that I will support
I do swear.
the Constitution of the United States.
Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution and the laws of the state of Idaho.
The Constitution and laws of the state of Idaho.
And that I will faithfully discharge all the duties
And faithfully discharge all the duties
for the office of trustee of Mountain Home School District 193
of the office of trustee of the Mountain Home School District 193.
in Elmore County,
And Elmore County.
state of Idaho,
State of Idaho.
according to the best of my ability.
According to the best of my ability.
Yay.
Now we're official.
But I need you guys to please sign those and your oath, and I'll leave them at the end of the meeting.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. All right, report based update, nominee. Bill,
Hello, everybody. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, hello, everyone. I wanted to start by saying, I don't know if everybody knows, but January is the month that you recognize your school board. So I just want to say thank you all for all that you do for the school, the district, the staff, the students, and the families. And just wanted to recognize you guys and say thank you very much. So thank you for all that you guys do, but quarter three yeah.
oh, you've got one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I mean, I can. Quarter three nominations have begun, so let's just continue to acknowledge and award our educators for all that they do. I've been talking with a lot of administrators across the district about painting the Gunfighter Service Center. It got brought to our attention by Major White and my flight sheet. They would like to see some creativity and student sparkles throughout our Gunfighter Service Center. So I've been talking with a lot of administrators about this. And we had an original plan, but I think we're gonna purchase some canvases and send them out to the schools and have the schools kind of basically demonstrate what their schools do, put a little love about what each school is, and title the canvas their school in the school year, and we'll continue to add to all the walls of the Gunfighter Service Center every year moving forward and make it all about all the Mount Home schools in the district. So that is in the process. And as we add canvases to the wall, definitely share pictures and all that kind of stuff with each and every one of you. Purple Star update, Superintendent and Dr. Barzy and I have been in great communication. We're working towards and we're forging that path to get this going in the state of Idaho. And I think we're moving in a very positive direction. As we get updates, I will definitely let you guys know where we're at in that process. As of right now, it's just moving along and we're gathering all the information. I've been speaking with other Purple Star liaisons and other states and stuff like that, and everything is going pretty smoothly. So as we hear more, I will let you guys know as well. Mountain Home Air Force Base just recently received some distinguished visitor visits. It's our SYNC. What that is Installation Excellence Selection Board. There was about 6 of them that came out to the base, and they went around and talked to all of the different programs, facilities, and all the things that impact our military and the community, such as the Military Family Readiness Center, Child and Youth, and all of those types of things. I got the privilege to speak to one of them specifically, and I kind of just showcased Mountain Home School District, the community, and everything that you guys do to help support our installation. They were really impressed and lots of positive feedback. So if we win the award, I will let you guys know that as well. But that's really about all I do have. Yeah, so thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, any questions? I always forget that part. I know, right? I'm like, oh man, I just walk away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
For the building presentation this month, we have Serena.
All right, share my screen, Matt?
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna try to get the tech part down first, just make sure we got that figured out. Oh, there I am. Okay.
Okay.
All right, are we good?
Good.
All right, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Superintendent Gilbert. I'm gonna present for East Elementary, and I'm just gonna preface this by saying, even though I've gone over this about a dozen times, I'm probably gonna forget something. So we can ask about that at the end when I put a slide for questions, just to make sure I didn't forget. All right, so East Elementary, 2023, 2024. So I'm just gonna start with some demographics. Let me minimize this so I can see better. We have 423 students enrolled. Approximately, it fluctuates a few students every day, depending on what sorts of things change. But as of Thursday, we had 65 kindergartners, 96 first graders, 80 second graders, 90 third graders, and 88 fourth graders. We have 31 students in our resource caseload, which is just your standard academic special education services. And then we have the team program at East, which is our behavioral special education program, and we have 10 students currently in that. And though that is for special education supports for students with severe behavioral needs associated with their disabilities. Next, I'm going to go into some data. So the numbers on top just indicate, you've all kind of seen what we're looking for. We're looking for green. So the numbers on top indicate the percentage of students that are in green. This is just kind of our overall trends and growth from month to month as a school. And we're going to look at reading and math. And then when we go through each grade level, I just put reading because with last week, trying to get January's data with the weather and with reading being the priority, teachers put all their time into reading to make sure that that was done. And then math wasn't quite updated enough. So I didn't think the stats were accurate. So 56% of the students were in green in August, and we've slowly and incrementally increased that up to 61% in December. As you can see, we had a little bit of a drop off in students who've taken the test in January because we took it all last week. So teachers are doing makeups and things like that to this week to make sure that we have all of our data. But that was as of Friday morning. So sometimes you'll see a dip in January just because of the holidays. That's pretty typical. We have a pretty good trend line going there. For math, same thing. started at 51%, and we've slowly increased to 56%. And as I said before, that number of students that have taken that assessment dropped off quite a bit because reading was the priority last week, and with all of the weather and things, we had a lot of parents keeping students out, and we're doing makeups this week. So I just have each grade level. I just chose these two separate graphs. And if you ever go into iStation, there's about 1 million ways to look at the data. So these are some graphs that we typically use in our meetings. And the one on the top left that you'll see on all the grade levels is growth by level, where on the left, where students started, if they started in the level 1 and then level 2, and then the green levels for 40th percentile and above. And so we're obviously looking for an upward trajectory. And these steps right here indicate what the expected growth would be if they were growing at 1 grade level at a time. So if the line is steeper than that, that means that our teachers are helping our students grow more than a single grade level per that amount of time in the school year. And then the one on the bottom right, this is just your standard bell curve, with the darker line being what the expected growth is, or the expected distribution, and then the lighter line being what the actual distribution is. So you can take a look at those. I know that these were sent to you a little bit ahead of time. And then we have first grade, second grade, third grade, and fourth grade. So one thing that I'm really excited about is that most of our lines across the board, when we're looking at all 5 levels, most of them are trending upward, which is a really, really good sign, and that's what we're hoping to see. Obviously, we are working on trying to make sure that especially our level 1 students, which are our most severe needs, are the ones that are increasing. And with the number of new teachers that we have, we're working on interventions because that's a priority. But when you're new into teaching, that's one of the hardest things to learn, especially with classroom management, data, looking at data, interpreting the data, as well as doing all the other things that you have to do as a teacher. So to highlight that, this is the number of new staff that we have this year. It's been quite a year for transitions. So we have 7 out of 18 classrooms have a new teacher. 6 of them are new to the building. 5 of them are new to the profession as a whole. 1 of them last year being a para last year, and that's Heather right there. She's our first grade team lead. And then I'm just gonna, mostly for her sake, I'm gonna highlight this picture right here because she wouldn't let me take her picture in the school because her hair was back and she didn't think she looked good. So I just wanted to make sure that I pointed you in that direction so you'd notice Mrs. Levy, because she sent me a good photo. But our paras, we had 1 para, Shelly Lesuin, the legend, who's been there for 20-something years, retire over her break. And with her retirement, and then Miss Aceto had family business that she is also a part of, and she just couldn't balance both of them, so she also resigned. And now with that, we have 5 new Title I paras. Our 2 team paras, which is the behavior program, are both new to that position as well. And then our regular resource para, Mrs. Alley, is also new. So we have a lot of new support staff as well. And then our librarian was a paraprofessional last year, and she moved into the library position. And our computers teacher is also a new position, or a new staff member. So with that, kind of just going back to the data, I'm really pleased with where our data is looking right now with the number of new staff that we have. It's pretty exciting considering that 7 out of the 18 classrooms are new teachers, only 2 of which have had teaching experience before this year. So our priorities with that, it's really been hard for me to try to want to do more while also not overwhelming people. Because with 7 new staff, or 7 new teachers, excuse me, that is something where we're trying to help make sure that they're integrated into the building, learn from the culture, learn the curriculum, which is always just, it's like trying to drink from a fire hose. Learning just how the building operates, what the expectations are. Some of them learning how to work with students on a big level for the first time, and managing a classroom, which is also a pretty tall order. So we have 7 teachers that are also mentors. So 14 out of our 18 teachers are either mentors or mentees. And that's a huge portion of our staff. And a lot of the other staff that aren't mentors are also working with those new staff members to try to help make sure that they're supported. Kind of with that comes with staff retention. If we can maintain the staff that we have, at least on a high level, then that means that we can really start building more for next year and continuing with what we're doing this year. And then focusing on data has been a big push this year. Jamie Vick has come into our building at least every 6 weeks, and we look at data, we interpret it, we look at the different graphs. She's been helping our new teachers understand the types of interventions, what's research-based and what's not, so that we can do what's right by the students and really help them move forward, especially the ones that are in that level 1, like in those graphs that you saw. All right, now on to some just awesome stuff. One thing that I've really appreciated about having to put this presentation together is recognizing a lot of the good things that we're doing, and also realizing I don't take enough photos. I really need to work on that, but I'm convincing some staff members to send me some photos, and we have a lot of really good things that are pretty new this year, or restarting from things that were done in the past that we kind of lost with COVID, and we're trying to get to that as well. So one of the things that I'm really, really proud of is Ms. Motz and Ms. Clement have been working with ambassadors. And that was a program that was trying to get started when Mr. Kuntz was there in his last year with Dixie Siegmiller, who was the counselor, but then she moved to Boise, he moved to the junior high, and it kind of just disappeared. So Ms. Motz came in last year in February, and we talked about it. And she got started trying to, I guess, get a feel for really what we could do from February to May, which is a really tight amount of time for a new counselor to help get everything started. And then this year, we had applications for students from last year. They had an interview process, and they chose 4 students per 4th grade class. So we have 12 ambassadors, and they have been doing lots of different things to help the school, and it's been slowly and progressively getting better. So there's a list in my notes that I can't look at right now, but a couple of the things that they're doing are they organized their own food drive for the elderly in December, which was really great. They've taken a leadership workshop from some of the military service members that have come and done some things. And I talked to Ms. Clement, whose husband has been a huge advocate for getting the military personnel in our school. And he was saying that they actually had so many volunteers the last time that they were going to do a quarterly leadership workshop with these kids that they had to turn them away because there were going to be more adults in the room than kids. And it was it's a really good problem to have. So they really, really like that. And so these are just, we have a few photos in there of that. And another just highlight from the first workshop that the kids had, because it's always during their lunch, is I was in there for about 10 minutes, but Miss Motz and Miss Clement came and talked to me, and they said it was, the kids were trying so hard to like sit up straight and be professional and ask really deep level questions and be impressive. And that was fun to see. This month, they're organizing a winter wellness bulletin board where students or teachers or anyone can write down something that makes them happy or that they appreciate about winter, or that is going to help something positive for the winter months. And they're going to be posting those on those snowflakes throughout the rest of the month. Some other things that they're going to be working on is they want to help with staff appreciation days, and April and May are huge staff appreciation months for schools. So they're going to be wanting to help with that. They're going to be helping with the Canvas project that Dominique had mentioned, and we're going to try to bring in some 3rd graders as future ambassadors to try to pass the torch on to next year and be those leaders, so we can have a quicker start next year. Another thing that we're really proud of is our fundraiser. For 2 years in a row, we've done a walkathon, and we combined a few events into one event, mostly to minimize the chaos that comes with Halloween, that comes with the walkathon. Years past, before my time at East, they would do a Halloween parade and then they would do the walkathon separately. For the last 2 years, we have combined that into one main event, and we've run it all day long. And we get all kinds of volunteers. So if you look closely at these photos, or if you check the Facebook page, I got a bunch of photos from this. We had members from the fire department, the police department. We had a lot of teachers decided to run with their kids. We had a ton of parents. We had a group of high school students come, and they helped give high fives and encouragement to the kids, and just some other volunteers that came and helped. We had military volunteers that came to that as well. And both years we've raised $10,000 or more. And we are using those to get whiteboards for all of the teachers, because at East, the boards that they've had are shower boards that were overlaid over the chalkboards and have been there since like 1997. So we really wanted to get them some new whiteboards. And from the beginning of last year until this year, I've really learned all the tips and tricks to keep those lasting really long, like cheap perfume, making sure that you have whiteboard cleaner all the time, using clean rags. And when we get to this, well, I'll just show you right now, the whiteboards, They're all 12 foot by 4 foot whiteboards, and when we just kind of went by seniority, and a lot of the new teachers that have been there for 10 or 12 years or more, they all went and got new whiteboard markers, so they didn't mess up the new whiteboards. We've also gotten some other upgrades. Our HVAC system is fantastic. It's warm in the winter and it's cool in the spring and the fall, which, well, not spring, we don't know yet, but it's been cool in the fall. It was pretty great. We have digital displays. We don't have the swamp coolers, which last year were kicked on in April when it got really cold and we had classrooms that were 50 degrees and we had kids with winter coats. So we're hopefully able to avoid that this year. We just got some new security cameras installed and Matt is working on trying to make sure that those are all up and running. So to get rid of some blind spots that we've had around the school. And we were able to also get some document cameras to replace the iPads that we've been using for the document cameras, as well as some other types of things. So teachers have been pretty happy about that. These are just some photos of some classroom things that we've done. Teachers obviously try to make learning interactive and fun. Top left, there's going to be another photo of this that comes about with our community slide. Miss Nordine, who works on I can't remember the name of the classroom, but they do like cooking and sewing and all those other kinds of things at the high school. We have a kindergarten class who draws pictures of monsters and what they might look like from a template. And then the high schoolers collect those and then they make little stuffed animals of those monsters and then return them to the kids. And so the kids get to keep the monster that they created. And they did one in the spring or in the fall, and they're planning on doing another one in the spring. Such really fun. Third grade always does bridges. This one right here, the third one, Miss Hennessy's class read Stone Soup. And so she made soup for the kids and they got to eat it as they finished the story. And then they got to tell me about the Stone Soup story. Just Halloween arts and crafts that came with the holiday. This one down here was an experiment using the scientific method. And they kind of integrated it with a holiday, I believe it was Halloween, where they had to find out which liquid would react with a jelly bean the most, and then they had to write down their observations. And then these last two photos are interactive fractions activities in Miss Clement's class. We do a lot of PBIS stuff at East Elementary. I didn't attach the matrix on here, but we have a behavior matrix that has expectations written out for all the different parts of the school based on the Viking values, which are be respectful, responsible, and ready. We do Viking tickets, which are just tokens for recognizing positive behavior. We started doing teacher tickets this year, which was encouraged to me by Ms. Motts. And then I talked to Mr. McCluskey about how they do it at North, and teachers are able to get recognized by students, staff, and parents for what they do. That's really good. And then they get prizes for that. We have golden tickets. So Mason right here, down here on the left, has a golden ticket in front of the East Way sign. And that is for a student who is continuously demonstrating the East Way and being a great role model for the rest of the students, or doing something that kind of goes above and beyond. And it's just a great grand gesture. And then they get a prize from my office, and then we get to make a positive phone call home. That's really fun. The Viking value points are specials points. The students do their best to achieve the East Way in specials classes, and they can get a score of 1 through 5, and those add up throughout the year. And as they meet certain thresholds, they get different classroom rewards. So like 50 points is they get an Otter Pop party. I can't remember them all, but last year when they reached 400 points, they get a game with Mr. Young, and Sharks and Minnows was like the best thing ever for every class. And I got my cardio in. We do Starlight Dining, and we're going to actually be doing this tomorrow. So Starlight Dining is the teachers select 2 students per month who are demonstrating the East Way to the best of their ability throughout the month, and then they get to eat on the stage. And we have Christmas lights up there. You can't see it in the background, but for some reason, this was not planned. They're in the shape of a mustache, and the kids really think it's cool. I can't tell you why, because it's a mustache. And then the 3rd and 4th graders, they like to pose or dance at the end. So I thought it would be really fun to kind of just get a photo of that and show you. We do sassy poses, superhero poses. Some kids like to do the splits because they can. I can't. So those kinds of things. Another thing we got restarted this year was a parent group. So our PTT group, it kind of got lost with COVID again. I tried to get it started last year, but then it kind of just kept taking the back burner as me being a first-year principal and trying to kind of get everything else figured out. But this year we have 6 active members who are showing up consistently every single month, and they've already done quite a bit. They decorate our lounge every month. Stephanie Bowman is one of our most active members, and she makes name tags for Starlight Dining so the kids can remember that they participated in that. She's made snowflakes with staff members' names on them. They put together goodie bags. They were the ones who organized our Veterans Day assembly with American Legion Post 26. And then they also helped with, we had parent volunteer help with Picture Day. They helped a lot with our walkathon and counting money and making sure that we had all the logistical things taken care of. And even though we've only really had 6 meetings, they've already done a lot. And we're working on trying to make sure that our staff appreciation days in April and May especially are taken care of so that staff can feel supported. And one thing I didn't get a photo of, like I said, I needed to take more photos, is they also helped with Custodian Appreciation Day, which was on October 2nd. And they made, they helped get snacks and different sorts of things for the custodians, decorated their office, got some goodie bags and things like that for them too, because they do a lot of hard work and keep our school up and running. And then just some community things. You've already seen a few of these photos, like the police officers at the walkathon. We have the fire department come every fall and fire prevention week and do a presentation on that before we go do open house at the fire station. We had city council come and city council and public works come do a presentation to our students about what they do for the city. These are those kindergartners with their stuffed animal monsters. And this is another one. This is a student receiving his, having American Legion Post 26 come in for Veterans Day, because we wanted to make a big deal out of Veterans Day and not just standing out in the cold with the flagpole and doing the pledge or hearing the Star Spangled Banner. They got to, if you look on the Facebook page, they got to see the flag getting folded, what it means, why it's important. The American Legion members came and answered a lot of questions. And this gentleman right here, just one of my favorite stories is he was talking to the students about the importance of Veterans Day. And then at the very end, he was trying to encourage them to bring their families to the American Legion Hall for some beans. And then it was time for questions. And I'll tell you that every first grade and second grade or kindergarten, first grade question for like the first 15 questions were about beans. That was pretty much it. It was nothing to do with the presentation, but the beans was what stuck. So that one was pretty funny. And then this is the last little bit of what I have to share. So Miss Motts again and Miss Clement have taken a huge thing. We were trying to figure out how to get more military service members in our building. And I talked to Nix about this last year, and Dominique has been a big part of this. And I got a picture of her, but it's when she's looking at the book. But every month, Miss Motts has a theme, and we get books for military service members to go into the classrooms and read stories aloud to students. And then the students can ask them lots of different questions about the story, about themselves, how they practice things. And it just continues to grow in popularity every month. The first month we had, I think 10 or 11 teachers just sign up, and it was kind of sparse. And we had, I think, 4 different volunteers come in. And then this last month, we had almost every class sign up for a time. And I think we had about 9 or 10 volunteers somewhere in there. So we're continuing to grow that. We wanted to start it off something small. We want to expand it to lunch buddies and some other things like that, but we also didn't want to spread ourselves too thin, and we weren't sure what kind of commitment we were going to get. So that's continuing to grow as well. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Presentation.
Very fascinating.
Thanks. I worked really hard on it.
Curious, how would you describe your second year versus your first year over there? Is there a big difference? Is it?
It's definitely different. My first year being at East was, let's just kind of see what he does and how he operates. And then this year, especially with the different, we have a pretty wide variety of experience with staff. So we have some very, very veteran teachers, and we have some really new teachers. And we're trying to figure out the balance of hold them accountable, but they're also still learning. So there's been a bit of a steep learning curve there. Trying to implement some things that I really want to do is something that we're really trying to make happen. And like I said earlier, it's a little bit, it's almost like hurry up and wait. You want to do more things, but you don't want to overwhelm people and drive them away either. So, yeah.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Very nice, thank you.
Thank you, Brad.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Superintendent's report, Mr. Gilden.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, a couple of updates here. I've sent requests out to several community leaders for letters of support for our grant that will be submitted through Congressman Simpson's office to match for the 20% match of a PSMI grant. The hope is to have that submitted early in February. So we'll get lots of letters back that will help with that in conversation with the congressman's office. They said community support is their number one factor when they look at those grants. So very optimistic with that. Couple other things legislatively that information that we learned today. So what we're being told very early on, session is very early, and so it's kind of the doom and gloom part of the session where they tell you all the bad things that could happen here. Right now, it looks like there's three kind of drivers of the education budget. You have the Idaho Launch Program, you have the governor's facilities priorities, and then you have the tax credit bill that is in essence the voucher bill. And those three things are going to be the drivers of what happens with the education budget. And what we were told today is there's not money in the budget to do all three of those. So part of the issue here is we're still missing the $162 million from that was allocated last year but not distributed to districts. They do not anticipate that changing. The comments on rewriting the funding formula have kind of died out. They don't think they have the money to do it because it would change that distribution again. That is, the early numbers are a potential, what you would see is about a 9% reduction in revenue to Idaho school districts if things play out as is. I think there's going to be a lot to come with this, but it's going to be a very strange year because those three things are priorities that will take away funding to schools for the general operations of schools to try to fund those programs. So sure, there's a lot more to come with that, but I would be happy to try to answer any questions you might have, and hopefully after next month, we have a little better outlook on what they're thinking with the ed budget.
Have we heard back from our local legislative representatives or letters of support yet?
Yes, I've heard from 2 to 3, and they are working on those letters right now.
Who's the missing one?
Representative Blanksma.
Oh, actually,
Yes, the city is working on it.
The base?
Yes. And the governor's office.
thank you. Any questions for James? Board of Trustees, Public Engagement Report. Anybody have anything to report? Okay, unfinished business, none, new business. Okay, Sharon, you're up. Establish a schedule for the regular board meetings.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I asked for your approval for us to keep our already established schedule of holding our meetings on the third Tuesday of each month at 6:30 p.m. here in the administrative building.
That still work for everybody?
Yeah.
We get a motion to approve the board meetings on Tuesdays, third Tuesdays.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, designation of public posting, Sharon?
Mr. Chairman, I would also like to ask your approval of keeping the same 3 posting areas that we've had for many years now. One being just outside the front door in our little notice board, one on our website, and then notices on our Facebook page.
Question on the Facebook page, when do we post that?
Usually Fridays, when I get that, I get it posted.
Gotcha. Thank you. If we get a motion to approve the public postings as presented,
So moved. Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Proposed appointments for the 2024 year, Mr. Gilbert.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, in your board packet this month, we have the proposed officers of the district for 2024 and the proposed records custodian for 2024. There's no big changes on these, so I would ask for your approval of those appointments.
Give me a motion to approve the proposed appointments for 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Approval of bid proposal, Matt?
Hi. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Superintendent Gilbert, today is when we start our E-rate process. So for those of you that don't remember, E-rate is a federal program that's designed to give discounts for telecommunications, internet access to schools and libraries across the US. If you ever look at any of your telecommunications bills, there's usually like a universal service fee that gets lumped together that then gets spread out to schools on, I believe, a 5-year cycle. So the federal government, the FCC specifically sets aside money for schools and libraries to use to help modernize and keep themselves updated with regards to anything telco, specifically internet access. So this will cover anything that we want to ask for that fits into like firewalls, internet access, battery backups to keep the internet running, switches to connect everything. This year, we are focusing first on replacing our wireless. For a lot of the district, there's about 205 access points, so similar to what you have at your house, we have them in every classroom. There's over 200 of those that are gonna end of life come July, so we need to get those replaced. What is recommended by the FCC is to do a very generic RFP following a fairly strict schedule. We have to post for 30 days on the federal site. We have to provide a rubric. The rubric has to have price as the highest percentage of the rubric. So what we did this year is we asked for both replacing just the ones that we needed to replace, which I've called like a partial replacement, replacing everything and taking this opportunity to just update everything consistently so that everything matches. And using, there are 2 standards out now for wireless that are what I would consider current. So I didn't limit on any of those. We got 6 vendors to reply. What we talked about with Mr. Gilbert and Levi over the last couple days is we have some money that we could use for this out of ESSER to help pay for that. Things tend to not get cheaper as we go on, so if we were to do a partial, we'd have to come back in the next 2 to 3 years to finish that. That doesn't seem the best bet since we have some pretty good pricing now. The other thing is with this, depending on if you're urban or rural and what your percentage of free and reduced students are, you get pretty sizable discounts. We're up to 70%. So the number you see at the top of the rubric I gave you is for doing a full replacement with the newest wireless technology we've got. The one in green is a new company that we tested last year. It's called Ruckus. You may have heard of it. They've got some cool stuff where kind of everybody does the same thing where you put one access point wherever you need it. Ruckus does some cool technology where they can cut down on that. And we actually tested it at the junior high last year. Got about half the APs that we normally would have and still had the same coverage for all the students, including when we have science classes that bring 2 or 3 classes in. It can do something with the wireless to make sure that everyone's up and running way more than what we have now. So in green is that, you'll see we get a 70% discount. That's what I would ask. I would ask that you approve the big number though, because what happens with E-rate is we pay for it outright and then get a reimbursement. So I don't want to have to go under the table or anything and make it look like we're not doing what we need. We will be outputting that 218,000 that I'm asking you to approve today, knowing that we'll get 70% of that reimbursed, with the approval once E-rate approves that. Any questions?
What's the life expectancy?
That's tough. The ones we're looking to replace at minimum were bought in 2016. And that's kind of, 3 to 5 years, stuff changes so much that it makes
Right.
sense to replace. With E-rate, they're trying to avoid those people getting a 70% discount, and then I would assume people have tried to get rid of that. We have to keep it for 3 years. So that's what support is on these. That should keep us in compliance until we could make a change if something were to happen.
Makes sense.
So I would ask for your approval for that Pine Cove Consulting Ruckus that you have listed.
If we get a motion to approve the partnering with Ruckus.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, Matt. Approval of the district calendar, Mr. Gilbert.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, you have the proposed 2024-2025 school calendar for the district and the modified one for Bennett Mountain. Just a couple items in this one. It does mirror close with what we've done in the past. We did move a PD date into October to better suit the professional development schedule, and then that one in September as well. As sometimes when we have professional development gaps, especially at the beginning of the year, it leaves planning issues there for everybody. So with that, spring break lines up with, I believe, the majority of the Great Basin Conference and some of the schools in the valley. There are a few that are on different schedules, and typically what you see is in Region 4, they try to line it up with College of Southern Idaho, what their spring break is, and then in Valley, it tends to be what Boise State is on as well. So there might be some differences there, but so far, I don't see anything coming up that's going to require us to change this. The semesters are very evenly balanced in this. I think they were actually balanced, correct? So I would ask for your approval of the 2024-2025 school calendar.
Will next year, the start of school shift back a little bit more into more of the middle of August?
Well, Trustee Knox, so here's kind of the dilemma you run into with it. Part of it is just the way dates fall, but with the emphasis trying to have the full 2 weeks off at Christmas for families and then that week off for Thanksgiving. That's really what drives that start date for us, is trying to meet those timeframes in there. And, for this year, it was goofy where we had staff coming back on Friday after Christmas break. And so some of that's just based on kind of how those holidays fall.
We get a motion to approve the calendars as presented. So all in favor? Any opposed?
So there's no one, a different one's coming, then we put this,
In the calendar?
yeah, pending negotiation.
Right. That is true. Sharon, you catch that?
I sure did.
Thank you, Trustee Green. Okay, we get a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'll really ask you. Thank you, you're adjourned.